so Edgartown's doing an abbreviated one, Tisbury's doing theirs, Oak Bluffs is doing theirs, and then we're doing the 208 for in place of a CWMP for the Up Island towns. So I guess all of our towns are working on one.
Well,
And
that's
Adam
good.
said he'll be joining us shortly.
So we just got to get the funds to implement what they recommend.
Right.
I guess there's
Well-
some expensive items in Oak Bluffs, I think. We talked about some meeting I was at.
Yeah, I think that was before COVID. I don't know. Amy, do you have anything from Showmark Pond Association that you'd like to?
Unfortunately, not a whole lot to report. There was a presentation that I'm sure you all participated in yesterday about the data that was collected over the summer on cyanobacteria. And we are still in the process. I'm sorry, my video is broken, so I can see you, but it's not me hiding, it's my camera not working. We are still slowly grinding our way, we hope, to a ecological restoration permit so that we can open some channels and get a better exchange of water when we do our pond openings. And one of the things that I would really love to learn more about that somebody mentioned at the last one of these were using kind of dredge material to rebuild adjacent wetlands. And it's being done apparently in Rhode Island, but because of our strange wetlands protection laws, it may not be legal in Massachusetts. So I wonder, and one thing I don't know even how to start thinking about this, but how do we get together kind of an experimental, I mean, you've done this at the MVC with the impermeable barriers and things like that. How do you get exceptions to try something new?
We get a grant for a pilot project. Are you talking about where they just put, I think they fine layer sedimentation? Just,
Yeah,
they just put a layer over it to help
exactly
let it build up and then it can grow through it.
Exactly. So we're in Chilmark, we're facing a challenge with our permitting because some of the material we want to move is sand and matches the beach. And some of it is more, gunk. It's more degraded biological material that is muck but that muck would be full of nutrients and would be fabulous if we could apply it to the land. Right now, we can't do anything with it except actually remove it. And what's typically done, from what I understand, is to truck it out and put it in a landfill, which really makes no sense. I mean, can we come up with a ways either to use it to rebuild the adjacent marshes or to dry out somewhere and turn into it should be fabulous compost if it could be dried and processed.
Yeah, they often take it for agricultural.
Exactly. I think that's something that maybe the whole island pond folks would be interested in figuring out. And I just don't know how to get the ball started.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they've made you do soil surveys for heavy metals and all that.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. All that's done.
It's all clean.
Well, it's normal.
Yeah, especially in Chilmark Pond, you're not going to get a lot of road runoff, so you're not going to get the heavy metals from vehicle.
Correct. We were worried about people who used to in the olden days sink their boat engines, but apparently it didn't cause a lot of problems. Apparently our soils are okay. Nothing unexpected in them. But it's the whole grain thing. It's the muck versus the sand problem.
Right.
But that would be perfect to fill in. Right. We can put it on the beach as long as we put the slope in the right place, because we have plovers and other critters that have special requirements of beach sand. But for the stuff that's on the landward side, which is muckier, the challenge is what to do with that. And right now we have taken it off our list of things we're seeking permission to do. But I think it'd be great to figure out how to do a pilot program somewhere on the island with pond muck.
I'll talk to Liz Durkee. She's our coastal planner, and she's very big into salt marshes and salt marsh restoration.
That was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
She was talking, before she changed jobs, she was talking about, the importance of allowing salt marshes to migrate inward, and, this would help them because they're gonna have to build up for the new
Exactly.
crown.
Exactly. Apparently there was something that I found online. I think it was Liz who probably mentioned it. Something I found online about some natural flooding in Massachusetts. It couldn't be done by us, but it was done by nature, and apparently was incredibly successful.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
That's-
I
that's
think
what's on
Adam
my-
might have joined us.
I did.
Okay.
Right. as,
Rainbow, that's somebody else. Hey, Adam.
Hi, Richard. How you doing? Thank you for a couple of
Great.
minutes. Just wanted to announce that we were awarded an ARPA grant, approximately $500,000 to install IA systems on the island. With all the island towns, it's going to be through the Board of Health. And we're basically, we just were awarded, so we got to work it out. But basically our plan is to give each town 2 or 3 IA systems that will operate under 11 kilograms. And we will monitor that. And again, that's part of the commission strategy, is that at some point, we're interested in cleaning up the ponds. We're going to start getting, significant funds to do it, whether it's sewer, whether it's getting several $1 million in a revolving fund to put in IA systems. But before we can do that, we have to finish the planning documents, and we have to basically get these projects out of provisional, these technologies out of provisional, and that's what this grant will do. I sit on the executive board of the Cape and Islands Water Trust Fund, and although there's no towns from here in there yet, although the Oak Bluffs, one of the Oak Bluffs selectmen has indicated that she's in favor of it. They've spent $100 million in funds that they collected, $100 million. So our goal is cleaning up the ponds. We're doing that up Island 208. Our first phases of that project are going well. And we're looking to do the second part, which is to get the technologies in place and have some solutions when we get there. So Richard, you're the chair. I would love to come back when, the paperwork for this is large, and I still got to meet with the Board of Health. I met with the All Island Board of Health yesterday, but I would like to come back when we have a little bit more details. I did want to announce it. It's very exciting, to have that, that goes along with our PRB. We're still hoping to get, pond openings and some other technologies approved. And I did want to just tell the group that information.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, we're pretty excited, Amy. It's and we're going to do it by town. I think we're also excited about that we'll begin to work with the towns to, again, clean up the ponds.
I think that's great. Do you have any sense of timing?
I think it'll probably be in the fall
Okay.
when we figure out like how we're going to distribute it.
Yeah.
Is there going to be affordability, people that can afford it. My personal thing is it needs to be like within a certain diameter of the pond.
Yeah, it should be the ones that matter.
Yeah, well, because that's really what it is. I mean, as much as, affordable housing and stuff are our passions of mine, this fund is really to clean up the ponds. And if it's 2 miles away, even though that might be the most, fair thing to do, I really want to have the most bang for the buck in terms of getting this stuff. The key, Amy, the key is once you come out of provisional and get into general use, you don't have to test anymore.
Yeah, I think that sounds to me like the smart way to go about it. It's just to do it where it matters. And then, as you said, we'll get more funding to do
Right.
the equity side of it. But
Right.
it's great news.
The ultimate goal is again to go to the revolving fund and get $5 or $6 million and put, several hundred of these in, in various locations and get some economies of scale, especially up island where the sewer, but all the, Oak Bluffs is doing their CWMP, so is Tisbury. I think Edgartown is going to be have to now. So all of these things are, coming to the forefront, but even like Edgartown, Oak Bluffs and Tisbury, they're not going to sewer the whole place. You're not going to sewer the whole town. So IA systems, PRBs and other kinds of things are going to be tools that we're going to have to develop and use. But a couple of years ago, we didn't even have the tools. So I'm excited that we're at least, and a couple of the tools are being, the technology is being, the science is being done here, which is another, we're actually exporting the science that the Cape is using our science, which is amazing to me too. So
Well, nice
Great.
work. Nice
Sounds
work.
great.
Will the, do you think there's gonna be a matching requirement, or is this a straight out grant?
just straight up.
Cool.
Straight up. But Amy, if we can do it correctly, and there's also, they keep calling it the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. I just call it the Infrastructure Act. If we can prove these technologies, there's funds out there to do it. It may not be grants, it may be revolving, enterprise fund where you give somebody a 20-year no interest loan and they pay back. And as they pay back, that fund supports other people, further down the chain that want to do this stuff. So, we'll continue to work and I actually have a meeting with John Cahill at 1, but I did want, this is the kind of stuff that we need to do is to really look at nitrogen diversion, pond openings, other kinds of stuff that we need to do to clean these things up. And we're in that phase now, so.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
Richard.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Some of these
Well,
things get
It's
approved, the better.
it's a team effort. Melinda, I see Melinda Loberg was involved in it. We're all working together to get this stuff, Amy with the up island ponds. And so we're all working together. It's the only way we can get it done. We're no one entity. So I appreciate it, Rich, and your attention to making sure that this remains an important issue.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Definitely is, especially when we got more people moving here all the time.
I've heard that.
All you gotta do is drive around.
I've heard it. I'm
Traffic
kidding.
is getting
And the
crazy.
construction is amazing.
Oh, the construction is
What's going on?
amazing, amazing.
We have a carrying capacity project that we're working with the Corps. It's pretty big. We're just negotiating it and waiting till the fiscal year starts, but that's going to measure all that stuff.
Yeah, that subject's come up a lot of different meetings I've been at, and people are wondering how it's going because
It's just the Corps of Engineers, it's just slow, but it's going to look at, I've said many times that we're at the tipping point of this island.
oh yeah,
Going from, we can do it. You can certainly go to a suburban model, the Cape, if you look at T-Ticket and some of those, you can go to there. But it's going to be a different place and it's going to require different services. And I don't think it's going to be what people want. And I think people need to understand the ramifications of unfettered development. The low hanging fruit is gone. We're at a point now where we're right on the tip of suburban, suburban character. You look at the Barnes Road, Airport Road area, and just, I don't know if you guys have been up there in the last summer, but the traffic was tremendous. It backed all the way up to West Tisbury on the West Tisbury Road. And I said, why? Simply the road is not designed to carry that much traffic on a small 2-lane rural road where you can't pass. Well, what do? Well, either you restrict, you don't have more development, or you make it a 4-lane road. But if you make it a 4-lane road, it's going to seem different. So we're, what do we do?
It's like parking places. There'll never be enough parking places,
Yeah, right. We have a 70-seat restaurant in Tisbury. And as we do the traffic studies, we found out a lot of the traffic in Tisbury downtown is people driving around because there's no parking spaces.
Yep.
You make that loop. But these are things that, we're gonna, as an island, we gotta discuss. And Richard, you began to discuss it in the island plan, but we need to do better.
Right. And that was how long ago now?
10 years. So.
It's huge, and the question of everybody started, I'm working on housing issues, and the question is, how can you provide the housing that we really need and deny housing to the people who have the money to, employ all the people we really need? It's a I don't know what it is.
Or if you put 500 new units on the island, it's going to have an impact.
Right.
In a lot of different ways. So.
Right. Yeah, that came up at a discussion about the housing bank. One of the things that they, I think, are encouraging is not new development, but to remodel old existing houses that are large and, turn them into multi-unit buildings, which I think makes more sense. But
yeah, well, Sherry and I always talked about the fact that as we improve the water quality and the ways to control water quality, the bottom part is we're going to allow more development because water quality is not a fallback ananymore.
Well, right. It's like a sewer. You put a sewer system in and people say, well, I can have as many bedrooms as I want, right?
Right. And in Edgartown on the Great Pond, that's always been a limiting factor. If you get on sewer, you get that fourth and fifth bedroom.
Yeah. It's double-edged sword.
Yeah, I hear you. Life's not easy. All right. Well, listen, thank you. I got to jump on another meeting, but I did want to get on there and just make that announcement to you guys first. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Adam.
John, did you have a question of Adam? Or
I did. Adam,
Go on. I'm sorry.
and I don't want to delay, but just to file it there. I mentioned this, for example, when Brendan O'Neill gave his excellent presentation in another context, for example, the West Tisbury meeting a month or two ago about limiting the maximum size of houses. And that is how to create a syllogism, a logical chain that makes it clear to individuals what the consequences are to them of the continuation of these trends in increased numbers and so on. Because it strikes me that a lot of what is said isn't distilled down to that point. And so if one is pre-adapted to the issue or convergent to the issue and has a similar sort of aesthetic view or otherwise, or sensibility, then one might take the point and vote one way or in support of these kinds of restraints. But otherwise, it's not clear to me that it translates to the effect on the individual in the same way you could say, okay, this is going to cost you X% more taxes each year or something like that. So
that's part of the carrying capacity is looking at town budgets, because people assume that growth is good. And these budgets have grown, but it's like a fire department. When you have a volunteer fire department, because you're very rural, you're not spending a lot of money. As you get professionals, especially, these are not really fire departments anymore. They're more EMS they fight a fire occasionally. That equipment and everything is to be changed out, the technology. So you're right on. And that's what I hope this study does, because conceivably you can do anything. I mean, if you have enough money, you can put it, but I don't think it's ever been presented to people like this is going to affect you. And it's starting to now. Look at the towns, look at their budgets over the last 4 or 5 years. Oak Bluff budget, we're lucky this year because COVID was pretty good to us, surprisingly, but we've had to make a lot of decisions because we haven't had enough money. And you think, wow, you've had all this growth. Why you've added, but it costs. You have to hire professional people. You have to invest in infrastructure. And we haven't even talked about climate change, which is going to require another set of infrastructure decisions based on a road being underwater as opposed to character. So, but the best way that I can tell you is growth management is getting ahead of it while you can and not reacting to it. And that's what we're trying to do, is to put enough stuff out there, both understanding the science, understanding the demographics and stuff. Again, I could talk, John, forever. I'm on the Healthy Aging Martha's Vineyard board. A third of the people on this line, are over 65, over 55, excuse me. And they're requiring different services, especially as they live here more. And we have to work with the hospital. So it's never ending. So the best thing the commission can do is just put out all the science, all the statistics, and be a good, go to the policy boards and work with them to try to, whether it's the Board of Health, whether it's the selectmen, whether it's, this group, and work with them. And believe me, we're working as hard. We're only 8 people, so we're working as hard as we can. Rich, I got to jump off, but I would be glad anytime you want to schedule me to continue this discussion. I'm available. Thank you,
Great.
guys.
Thank you.
Many thanks, Adam.
Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? They want people to know about anything new in their realm? Not seeing anybody.
The commission is working with UNH and we have a stormwater grant. Have we mentioned that before? It's a 5-year grant, and we're looking at remediation efforts in the Lagoon Pond watershed and some others. There's going to be 2 projects also in Lagoon Pond, but we're also doing a project in Tajmu, and we're going to be monitoring for improvement in water quality. We're going to do it before the stormwater implementation's put in, and they've had a lot of bacteria samples, or the bacteria in the samples at this outflow pipe from the stormwater runoff. So we're going to be sampling before, and then we're also going to be sampling, of course, after and during and after when they do it, to see how this stormwater remediation works. I also have a component in there to look at cyanobacteria and how that responds also for the stormwater. And then we'll be doing a project, Town of Tisbury, we're doing several projects. That one is on Spring Street, and it will affect Tajmu. And we're also doing a catchment basin where the old fire station used to be, in that parking lot. It will be a retention station, so all the water that's coming down State Road will get caught in that detention basin. And then the stormwater portion that UNH Stormwater Center is going to be doing, they're going to be putting in kind of like an underground swale that will lead it, because it's going to go to Mud Creek eventually, but it will be cleaned up as it goes to Mud Creek. So they're going to have that detention center, and then that will drain to Mud Creek, but it's going to be filtered before it gets to Mud Creek. And we'll be monitoring that for cyanobacteria and water quality also. And then there's a couple of pipes that we're working with in Tisbury. They're down by Black Dog that they get filled with sand. So they need to be retrofitted so that they don't anymore. Melinda might be able to talk to some of that also. But that's a really fun project. And then that is year 1. Cyano will continue throughout, but we're also going to look at putting in another several PRBs in Oak Bluffs with that project. And I'd like to do some more work with Phragmites with Emma, with her Phragmites project, and that will also be part of that. And then there's another piece. I don't know if we're going to look at floating islands or some other different remediation efforts. So, and these are they're based around the Lagoon Pond watershed, but they'll be able to be moved to other watersheds. So they're demonstration pilot projects. So, but we don't have one, Amy, for the marsh, not in that one, but we'll definitely look for that.
Yeah, I'd love to. Any way I could be helpful figuring that out. It just seems like one of the arrows in our quiver that we should be looking at.
Yeah, definitely. Because, the salt marsh that we have, you see it sloughing off and just being undermined.
Right.
The state of Massachusetts does not allow to put anything in there to wave break, which is silly. If you could just break the waves so that the waves aren't hitting and undermining that, valuable resource. They're like, well, it's a hazard to navigation. It's like, there's only 2 feet of water there. So if you put like concrete blocks or something that would just break that. I understand they're worried about it moving and washing up and
Mhm.
boats hitting them, but there are areas that boats aren't even running in anyhow. So yeah, there's some things we need to work on, and we need to work on with the state of Massachusetts because they're very slow in changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I'm really happy that you reported all what you're doing on stormwater, Sherry. And I could just add a little bit of detail. The Black Dog outflow pipes that constantly get silted in will be a project. I believe it's on the tip for DOT to replace those and to put backflow stoppers in it so that when the tide and big storms come in, it doesn't push all the water back up into Five Corners.
Wow.
This is, really state of the art kind of thing. And I remember the discussions when they were planning for the Beach Road project to put duck bills on all the outgoing pipes for that purpose. So we just have to wait until this project comes around. I believe it's 2022 or 2023 for the DOT to actually perform that project. But the fact that you're going ahead with the old fire station project is fantastic, because if we waited, we'd have to wait 5 or 6 or 10 years for DOT to get it into their queue. And these two things together, I think will have an impact on flooding in Five Corners at long last. I know the island has been waiting for something concrete to happen there. So I'm glad the commission has grabbed a hold of it and taken the reins.
Yeah, it's been really good. We've had several meetings and it's been great. We've actually had DOT at the table, which is awesome, which is I give lots of kudos to Adam for that he has brought them. So we have EPA and we have DEP and we have UNH, and we're having these, and with the town, we're having these discussions all together so that, everybody's on the same page. And, because a lot of times we give DOT a bad rap, but, they've been coming and they've expressed interest in that they want to get these things done. So that's been great. I think Adam's been very influential in getting them.
If Pam Hasner has been one of those people that is coming to your meetings, she's District 5. She's a secret proponent of a roundabout in Five Corners. So work on her.
I would love that. It just makes sense. It's, in the summertime, just watching people, they don't know how to navigate that.
Right.
It's terrifying. And then they signal to go down Beach Road and there's almost an accident because you're like, oh, they're going to turn down Lagoon. Like,
Right.
No. Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. Thank God it's slow, but anybody else? I'm sorry.
It all sounds good. Sounds good.
I'm
All right.
wondering, with a tip of the hat to Rick Carney and the Blue Pages, to what extent any aspect of this would be facilitated by improved communications, so that both year-round people and summer people, not necessarily day tourists, but had a better understanding of what the issues are and what the consequences are of certain things. So on the one hand, the Blue Pages was an attempt at promoting some notion of best practices. The concept of the Vineyard lawn. And I think that it's very likely that even for those people who didn't immediately toss their copy of the Blue Pages into the recycling bins of the post offices, that they're no longer at hand or to be found. And I'm just, my thought is to maybe have a review of what's available, for example, online, the resources of the MVC as well as the different pond groups, the Vineyard Conservation Society and the towns, and to see what's there, what's missing. And can we also build in and reinforce more links between the different sites so that the odds are increased that if somebody goes, for example, to look at, in my case, West Chisbury Board of Health, that they're led to other relevant things. I mean, in my couple of conversations this year with the Board of Health, I know that they're very interested in what John Smith is doing and all of that. But if it's the case that when there's a random, an inquiry by anybody, a homeowner, a contractor, a plumber. Years ago, if I was at the plumbing supply company, I was trying to recruit people for the Water Alliance. I figured, these guys, what they do is water, right? I mean, they're natural allies. But my guess is that there's a lot more that could be done that is in fact would be instrumental value. Obviously, there's an enormous amount that could be done, but the key thing is to figure, well, what do we actually need to get done? And then the Vineyard has, of course, an extraordinary depth and breadth of resources in media people, in communicators, and to recruit them to the cause, to maybe facilitate some of this or get it done.
John, to your point, I know when they first came out with the blue pages, they distributed to all real estate agencies because they're rental agents and they can really implement some of that public education. Now we have a lot of Airbnbs, and I think that, if any of us have ever traveled somewhere, if you check into your house or place, there's a list of to-dos and not to-dos and all that. We license these people to operate, and maybe we need to look at the regulators so that they can promote good practices that would be present and enforced at each particular place that people stay.
Yeah, I talked about that at a meeting. Yes, I can't remember which one it was. I go to so many meetings. But anyways, I used to do a lot of caretaking, and I would put instructions on the refrigerator, how to deal with your trash, how to recycle, what you pull out. I think it would be good if the people knew, to recycle, to if they have a place to take their compost, and, and I think there should be rules about irrigation. I mean, the amount of irrigation that happens is just absolutely disgusting. It's just a waste of water, floods the streets, washes things away. It's appalling.
And it's putting a huge drain on our public water supply.
Absolutely. These people don't care what it costs. I mean, they don't care if it costs them more money. It's just a waste. Every day you do not do that every day. So stupid.
Emma and I had put together like a 1 page of the blue pages, and Chris had given us a QR code. So maybe that's a good idea. Just have like a 1 page that goes in those Airbnb books. And I have lots of copies of the blue pages. If somebody knew, I don't know all of the realtors that rent and how to get them those books. So if somebody could put together a list, or I cannot go door to door to the realtors and drop off boxes of.
Chamber of Commerce might have some kind of a list.
Okay, that's a good start.
Reach out to them.
All right. Or if there's like if they have like a realtors meeting or something that we could easily drop off something to.
Oh.
The Airbnb people don't usually have a realtor. They rent directly online, and somebody has a key. There's some way to get in.
Right. Yeah, they also do a hide key often. There's like no contact with anybody.
But there is a list of who has been registered at the state, that at least in Tisbury, it is maintained by the building inspector. And so you might be able to, town by town, go through the building inspector or whoever in the town is responsible for keeping up those Airbnb lists. And they might be useful and helpful in getting it out to them.
Yeah, that I did not know that they actually have lists of those.
They have to pay taxes to the state, so the state has begun, they have not, by any stretch of the imagination, captured everybody who's renting out Airbnb or the other ones, VRBO and so forth. But they're working on it, and the town seems to be more aware of those entities than the state is right now.
Well, that all sounds very good. As long as we're on the topic of the blue pages, I had an encounter by chance some years ago with an incredible guy who was a Portuguese-speaking Brazilian landscaper who got extremely interested. I was talking about something somewhere, and maybe I was just asking a question at a presentation at Poly Hill or something, and he spoke up and was extremely interested in learning about the existence of the Portuguese edition of the Portuguese version of the Blue Pages,
Oh, yeah, right.
which I had helped push with. I guess Brett Stearns made that happen, but in the tribe. And he came to a couple of Water Alliance meetings, and he seemed to be like the great candidate to be the ambassador to landscapers and others. And then unfortunately for that aspect of things, his prospects changed and he moved off island. So I'm wondering what contact, if any, there is with that community, and also whether there are indeed any copies of the Brazilian Portuguese language edition or version of the Blue Pages still extant. And I think we talked before about some notion of maybe reprinting it.
Right. We
I'm not
do,
advocating that, I'm just asking about it.
the printer does have the Portuguese edition, and he's more than willing to print more. They're getting really expensive though, with the cost of paper. The cost of paper when we printed the last set of Blue Pages it had gone up at least a third by the time he gave me the prices, but he still gave me a decent rate because we'd been going on. But he would love to do it. We don't have to go with the same printer, but it's just kind of, he's been really pretty good to us. We could just do a small run, and then if we could get it digitized or digitally, so we could put it on the computer too. But we can have some copies. And Elio, he's usually my go-to for the Brazilian community. I know some EMTs that are Brazilian too, so I could probably ask them, who's a good leader of your community, other than church people, pastors. They would probably know, so I could find out.
I think that's a terrific idea. And I like the notion of coming up, but you mentioned you and Emma are going to come up with like a one-page summary of kind of what you need to know as a renter or a homeowner, rather than the whole book. And that would be reasonably inexpensive to print and could be done as a flyer that's,
Right.
at the ferry terminal and, at Kronig's and here and there. And then it would have, I would imagine, either a QR code or the website for the full version.
Yeah, we could do something with VCS, because I know I probably still have it on my refrigerator. It's just hidden. 10 things you can do to save your planet or something. It's, just because it's overwhelming, the world really sucks and it's in a lot of trouble right now. So, and you're just like, oh, what can I do? So it's just kind of, maybe we could, I'll call VCS and maybe we could kind of work something out with them and then put the QR code for Blue Pages, for more information, go here, kind of.
The other idea is, there's this new magazine called Blue Dot Living. That is now a free giveaway at Kronig's. It's very pretty. I bet they would consider putting a page at the back of the book with all this stuff whenever they print, and they have a weekly email that they send stuff out to. I know the woman who runs it, so I'd be happy to broach this with her if there's something I could send her as a proposal.
Great. Okay.
That would be
Let me
great.
see the flyer that we put out, and maybe we can mock something up.
Cool.
I wish that Rick Carney was on this call just so I could see his face turn purple when I said the magic words refrigerator magnet, which, because I was part of the group that wrote the blue pages and so on. And I would bring this up all the time, but I think I mentioned before, Chesapeake Bay Foundation actually did a very effective one, to do with the narrower set of things amongst all the crises facing the world, but to do with water. So I'll see if I can get some copies of that and at least a PDF of the image and send it up, because I thought it was a good model for a
Yes.
distillation.
Yep.
They don't stick to the metal fridges
Right.
that all the fancy new ones that people have.
Right. So I wasn't actually advocating today a magnet as such, but simply a small format thing that stood on its own, that wasn't all the
Absolutely.
blue
I
pages.
think,
Yeah.
I think
And
that's.
it's a great idea right now, because with all the climate action plan that Liz is doing and all the events that are going to be happening, it would be really nice to have it available. I hate to give out paper, these things,
Right.
but if you could have it on a poster board or something, and hey, if you really want one, we'll give you one. But now I hate to lay things out on the table where it's going to just go in the trash. But well, we can figure something out. Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Anything else everybody wants to talk about? Like, looks like we're done. Sherry,
It's a short meeting. Okay.
I'll go out for a swim. Oh, no, I guess not. Stand in the rain. Stand in the rain.
You can
I-
stand in
I-
the rain.
I think we should give out tickets and fines
Oh, you're
for
freezing.
people with really green lawns.
Oh, well, I think VCS
I'm
way back
freezing.
when used to have a sign you could put on your lawn that says this is a, what did they call it? An island lawn or something.
Yeah.
which
Vineyard
is-
lawn.
Vineyard lawn,
The
right.
vineyard
Basically
lawn.
said, I
I
don't do anything. I mow the grass twice a year and that's it.
Mhm.
Right.
credit for that term should go to Joni Ames.
Yeah.
I think was the first to come up with
Yes,
it.
Joni.
That was 20 years ago or something.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
positive reinforcement might work better.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I've always thought about cutting off cutting the hoses in the irrigation system, but I didn't want to get caught, so I haven't done it yet.
Love it.
It's a few places I sure do feel like doing it.
Mhm.
I really miss the variegated patchwork of tones and colors that used to be the case at Ocean Park.
Yeah.
That was like the ultimate vineyard lawn. I mean, it was perfect.
Yeah.
You
It's
can
original.
come see that at my house. We have purples and yellows and when.
We've converted to moss.
Moss
Ooh.
is great.
Yeah.
Yep.
On its own, amazing, really.
You have to have shade for moss.
Yeah.
So-
We've got,
No,
Oh,
it grows, it gets pretty, just don't lime your lawn. That's all you gotta do is not lime it and it'll go moss. It's amazing. Amazing. All right, everybody, thanks for participating and we'll get together again next month, right?
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
great. Thanks.
great.
When it'll be
Thank
spring.
you all.
Okay, bye-bye, Sherry.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
How to turn off.